edition of the Seacoast Sports Forum. Special guest that we go to for a lot of topics, but in particular, we have something special we want to talk about with Coach Jim Tufts. Good morning, Coach.
Morning, Sherm. Good to see you.
Well, we know, again, you're a guru when it comes to soccer, hockey, lacrosse, but today I want to start things off with what was happening on May the 5th at Exeter High School.
So on Sunday, May 5th, the Exeter team, Exeter High School, will be hosting the Seacoast Area Special Olympics meet. The Special Olympics holds 5 area meets each spring around the state, out west, up in the Hanover area, up in Berlin, one central. And we host the Exeter one, and we actually have hosted it since 2006 when Exeter High moved out to Epping Road and we got a track. So each spring in May, we host the Seacoast meet. It's teams from the Seacoast area, even as far as Concord area, probably about a dozen teams, probably about 130 athletes, Special Olympic athletes that will run, walk, wheelchair, throw, jump, bocce, and just a wonderful meet. Starts about 8 o'clock in the morning and will finish about 1 in the afternoon, and it's always a special day.
You talked me into participating and helping out at the last Olympics meet, and I tell you, you were right. Once you get involved, you're involved. But I want you to mention you can always use volunteers, people to help out. Absolutely. How they can get in touch. Yeah, how they can get in touch with you.
So years ago when I started hosting this meet, or Exeter started hosting this meet, I had to rally the troops, because to do it right and to do timing, Chris Benson, his timing service is wonderful, does a wonderful job. And that's been a huge plus to our meet. But there's timing, there's measuring, there's announcing awards, there's shot put, there's all kinds of things. And again, bocce. And it really takes probably 50 volunteers to run it the right way. And so, of course, I got a few friends around town, and I tap into them every year. And what happens is, as it did for yourself, you come, you do it, and you say, when's the next one? Because it's just such, the athletes enjoy the day, their parents enjoy the day, the volunteers enjoy the day. And it's just, it's a wonderful day.
It is.
So we appreciate your help. We appreciate you coming back. And anybody who wants to can show up that day. My volunteer coordinator this year going to be standing at the gates, Matt Carboni, who's a high-profile guy in town, and he'll be looking for volunteers to come join us on that day.
And is there an email or someplace they can contact Matt or yourself?
They can get me at tufts.jim42@gmail.com.
Okay, good. We'll keep publicizing that. And matter of fact, we'll put it in the credits so people know where to get in touch with you. Because again, it's a fun day, it's a fulfilling day, and you see some folks having a lot of fun. And it really it just got to me, and I enjoy going up there again. And you got me for the rest of the time.
Awesome.
Just let people know in a thumbnail how you got involved with Special Olympics and why it's so special to you.
Well, so I was a senior at Phillips Exeter in June of 1970. And back in those days, in the 60s, in the 70s, students with disabilities, youngsters with disabilities, did not go to the public schools. They generally went to Great Bay. They went to Laconia State School, went to Crotchet Mountain. They went to Easter Seals in Manchester. And in this area on Lincoln Street, we had a school called the Rockingham School for Special Children. And the principal was Jim Tufts. And she had 1968, Eunice Kennedy Shriver had the first Special Olympics competition. One of the Kennedy children was an adult with disabilities. And Mrs. Shriver and the rest of the Kennedys felt very strongly that that population, this was diversity at its best back in the 60s, and they felt that there should be opportunities for people with disabilities. And so in Chicago Field in Chicago, Eunice Shriver had the first Olympic competition. And Mom said, you know what? We need to have one of those here in Exeter. So she rallied Cass Donovan, who was the track coach at Exeter High School, Ted Seabrook, who was the athletic director at the academy, Marion Webster and her staff at Lincoln Street School. And the first competition in June of 1970 took place in the stadium, which had a track in it at Phillips Exeter, and in the pool. My sister was a junior at the high school. I was a senior at Phillips Exeter, and we did whatever Mom asked us to do that day. And it was great. It was wonderful. And Exeter hosted it 70 and 71. And then in 1972, Special Olympics New Hampshire was chartered and took off from there. And so it's had a pretty meaningful place in our hearts. And then again, became even more important when in 1980, Leslie and I had Matthew and his developmental and physical challenges that he's faced. And when he turned 8 years old in 1988, he started competing. So we've been involved with it from its outset, and it's pretty special. My sister Ann coaches the Newmarket Stars team, which competes every year. And, Matt competes. Last year, some of the volunteers were my nephew Jeremy and his wife Chelsea and my cousin John Ring. And so this is a family affair for us. It's pretty
a family affair with one of the founding families. That's fantastic.
It's pretty special to us.
Yeah, well, you guys do a fantastic job, and kudos for all that you do for just bringing it to the Granite State, and again, just every year being there for those folks, and it just turns out to be a great event. And you're right. Once you're there, you're hooked. So
yeah, it's a day that everybody walks away feeling as if that was a really great day.
Exactly. I do want to shift gears for a second, and I've been involved. I'm doing a lot of the public address announcing this season for the lacrosse teams at Exeter High School. And last year I kind of did a few just to kind of, fill in and help out. And, I'm getting hooked on that sport. I have to admit to you.
Yeah, a lot of athletes out there. So, it's a fast sport. It's a fast sport. It's an exciting sport. And, as an official, you got to run.
Did you play lacrosse?
No, I was a baseball guy.
Okay.
I was a baseball guy. My son Kyle was very fortunate. Played at Exeter High, played a year at Phillips Exeter, and played at the University of Vermont. And
there you go.
He went up to UVM, and I sort of had my springs to myself. And Bill Ball's the assigner for lacrosse officials, and Dave Shannon was his first lieutenant. And they used to come into the office and say, I haven't got anybody to go here, and I haven't got anybody to go here. And I sort of said, fellas, I can officiate, but I got to learn something about lacrosse. And they said, well, you're going with Dave Shannon tomorrow. I said, okay. So they taught me, Billy and Dave taught me the game. And, it was great for me to get out and run around the spring, and I enjoyed it. And I've been doing it since 2006. That's when it started.
I tell you, it's if people don't know about the game of lacrosse, I think everybody knows it goes back to the Native American days. That's where it actually started. But and over the years, obviously the equipment and the play is a lot cleaner now. And these kids that are out there, wow, talk about skill sets. I'm amazed by the play on both the boys and girls side. And I was going to ask you, as an official, you get a workout for sure, running back and forth to keep up with those guys and gals.
So lots of people have to go to the gym on a year-round basis, but I'm really lucky because I get paid to work out. I get a run in every day, just about. And with people I enjoy, and keeping the game safe for kids and enjoy the kids. You get to know. I did one of the local high schools. I did Oyster River game the other day, and there were a couple kids that had learned to play hockey and learned to skate back with me when they were 5 and 6 years old. Now they're high school kids. So, I officiated a youth game on Sunday, and went over and introduced myself to the coach, and he was an Exeter High class of 95. So we reconnected. So, I get to stay involved with kids. I get a great workout and helps me pay the taxes.
What I wanted to ask you about officiating, though, is you do all the boys' games, right? There is a difference in officiating boys versus girls lacrosse.
Soccer, same sport, same rules. Basketball, same sport, same rules. A couple of tweaks here and there. But lacrosse are very, very different sports. You got, the boys a little more physical. They have the helmets. The girls, there are more safeguards to the girls' games to make it cleaner for them and safer for them. And I was asked recently, talk about there's a shortage of officials in every sport. And that's why old guys like me are still out there. But I was asked recently if I would officiate a girls' game, and I don't think I could do it. It's one of the only sports I think I couldn't officiate because I couldn't do it justice.
Mhm.
I don't know the rules well enough to be able to do it. They need officials for women's lacrosse more than any other sport. And the rules are there to safeguard the girls and make it efficient and clean and fast. And they're great, but they're very, very different than the guys.
Yeah, I was going to say, if people aren't familiar, especially with boys lacrosse, it's a combination of hockey. It's got basketball elements in it, football. I mean, the boys' game. The girls' game is a little more contained with what they call in space. So that, like you said, it's protection against getting hurt.
They got their bubbles, and you got to stay out of their airspace.
Yeah,
and talking about the carryover for sports, it's got a lot of soccer in it too. A lot of
soccer, right? Exactly. A lot of
soccer, a lot of hockey,
big field,
a lot of basketball picks, moving off the ball, and so in both of them do. Both sports do, but the rules are very unique and very pertinent. But as an official, you need to know.
There is a need for officials in the NHIAA for all sports, but you mentioned lacrosse, and I want to ask you a question relative to that. This past winter, there was a lot of talk up at the state legislature about coming up with some sort of legislation to protect officials from harassment. I just wanted to get your take. Have you, in the time you've been an official in different sports, have you been in that position?
Sure, there are those folks in the stands that see it differently than we see it. And that's always going to be there, whether it's sports, it's politics, it's the marching band. People are going to have their opinion. Have I ever felt I've been in a position where I wasn't safe? No. And I would even say that to a certain extent, post-COVID, people are more appreciative. We walk away from games often and people thank us for taking the time to do it and to taking the time to commit the time so kids can play. So I think that is one of the positives post-COVID is that people do appreciate that people, we're not totally volunteering, we are being compensated, but that we take the time and make the commitment to do that. It's an interesting bill. I think it's still alive in the House because I think there was a hearing recently about it. And I think it is important. And it's, Sherm, it's venue. There are venues if you go to Bill Ball Stadium or you walk in Exeter High School, you know that the student body and the citizen body is going to adhere to the sportsmanship, because Bill Ball and Skip Swazinski and Paul DiMarino and the other people are going to be visible, and they're going to address it right away, and it's not going to continue. And there are other places where we go where there are announcements, and if you speak to people in Carol Dosburn when she was at Winnacunnet, all you had to do was just speak to her and it was taken care of. And Steve Mello up at Concord. And there are legions of really, really good athletic directors and administrators that address the issues. We need those people. They need to be the ones to, because people will, kids, adults, anybody are going to find where the level is. Where's the bar? What's acceptable and
Right.
what's not acceptable? And, you know, it's a cultural thing. And if the culture is you appreciate and recognize the officials, that's the way it's going to be at that venue. And even other parents will step in and say, this is the way it's going to be. So is it a perfect world? No, but it's not a perfect world in any sphere of life. I find, for the most part, that people are appreciative of people taking the time and making the commitment.
And in previous shows, I've said it, that, you know, I think that if a parent, and it could be male or female, mom or dad or cousin, brother, whatever,
Grandma,
yeah, go to NHIAA.org, and they have a place on their website about signing up to becoming an official. And believe me, I did it years ago for basketball, and it was an eye opener. You learn the rules of the game. You know, you're not interpreting them from the stands and judging, you know, the guys that are on the field or on the court. You know, you got to learn the rules and know the rules, and then, you know, I think you enjoy the game more too. So,
in to that, when I started, when Billy got me on the whistle in 2006, and I started going into Girton and going into Merrimack and going into Concord and officiating games, I had a better appreciation for it. I understood how the coaches felt, and I felt it was important. If I wasn't getting to the right spot to make the call, they were justified in that. But if I was in the right spot and I knew what I was doing, I think they appreciated it. And I think it made me a better coach in my 2 seasons. I think coaches appreciated the fact that here I was, you know, 2 seasons as a coach, and I knew I knew their side of it. I knew the players' side of it. And so I think they appreciated me being there a little bit more. So I think I learned a lot from being on the whistle, and it made me a better coach.
and what I would encourage, and when I say young people, like anybody that's just graduated from high school or in college, especially in college, and you like the sport, whatever it is, it's a good time to maybe take that step, become an official, learn from some experienced officials like yourself that can, you know, mentor these guys and gals. And then I know, and I won't mention his name, but one of our officials, local officials, one of our EHS alum, he's moving up to the semi-pro basketball, and eventually he'll be an NBA official. I mean, he's got the talent skills, obviously, the officiating skills, and it's a process. So you start from the local level and then move your way up. And if that's what you aspire to, some people want to be pro athletes, and that's great. But I'd like to see more people become pro officials too.
Yep, and I'll put a plug in there. Jeremy Tufts, my nephew, 2006, Exeter High School, all sport and all state and a couple of sports. So he has done the NCAA Division I championship game. He's done the semifinal game. Jeff Miller's a Winnacunnet graduate. He did an NCAA Division I ice hockey semifinal, and those 2 fellows have done the Beanpot. And there's kids that were outstanding high school athletes, and they, as you say, are aspire to, they're at the NCAA Division I national level. And I'm so proud of them. I turn on the TV and see those guys doing games. I'm proud of those guys. And so I worked the game a couple weeks ago with a kid that's a couple years out of Merrimack College, BG Merrimack, and he's an engineer in Newburyport, and he's getting into our officials ranks. And it was great. It was, he was willing to listen. He was willing to learn. He's going to be a great official. And that's fun to work with those kids and see them coming.
Now, NHIAA.org, if anybody is thinking or would like to try to become an official, that's the place to go. And they have a place for you to sign up and go to their different academies for the different sports. You're our go-to guru for hockey. Now, the Bruins, you don't see them having a meltdown again this year, do you?
I think they learned from last year. They tried to ride Allmark all the way, he got dinged up, and now they had to throw Swayman into Game 7. And tough spot for any athlete to go in that pressure cooker like that. And I think that they would be remiss if Allmark doesn't play tonight. And they've rotated for, I think it's 26 games in a row now. Swayman, Allmark, Swayman, Allmark, Swayman, Allmark. And as Dana Barbin, Exeter High grad, outstanding hockey player, outstanding hockey coach, legend of hockey here in New Hampshire. Sometimes you ought to think about renaming it from hockey to goaltending, because goaltending is the name of starting pitching, and goaltending can turn a game. And I think the Bruins have a realistic chance at the Cup because of Swayman and Allmark. They've got some depth and they've got some talent, but Swayman and Allmark are special, and they've gone back and forth all year. And I think Montgomery would be crazy if he played Swayman 2 games in a row. And I think they're both outstanding. You got to have them both.
Who do you see as being the biggest challenge for them going after the Cup?
Oh, there's a lot of challenges. Boy, Carolina's very good. Tampa's decent. Florida's very good. The Rangers are very good. So it's going to be 3 great series just to get out of the East. I'd like to think, I think they're better than Toronto, and I think they'll dispatch Toronto. And I like that the Rangers are on the other side of the bracket. But I think the Rangers are going to be tough. I think Carolina's going to be tough. I think Florida's going to be tough. Tampa's always got a chance with their goaltending, and so it's going to be tough to get out of the East.
What about last year? Were you surprised by the Vegas Knights?
No, the Vegas Knights really got. So it's I'm really fortunate. About once a month I have lunch or breakfast with Dr. Steve Hardy, who is a physical education instructor. I did my graduate work with him at UNH, and one of the great hockey was involved in the ECAC before Hockey East. Just a great hockey historian. And Mike Souza, the current UNH hockey coach who played at UNH. And so both Mike and I had Steve as an instructor at some point in our lives. And we get together once a month at breakfast and lunch. And we talked the other day, last Monday, a week ago today, about structure of organizations. And Vegas has a great structure with their president of operation and their GM, McAfee. And Cassidy, I think, learned a great deal in his. So they've got great structure. They've got great structure, which, you look at it, they were in the Cup final from their inception, and they've got great people in place. And Steve and Mike were talking about that. They both have a better sense of the NHL people
right
than I do. And just good people.
I was just going to say, so it wasn't a fluke that they won last year. They
No,
have their act
no.
together.
And then one of their people that's in there as assistant is Kevin Dean, together, a good friend of Mike's, a UNH guy, and he had been with Cassidy here in Boston, and is back with him out there, and just no, not at all. That's a great structure. They'll be tough, and I think they're the 8th team. But in hockey, the 8th seed has won the cup.
There you go.
Several occasions. There's no real home court, home field in ice hockey. Florida proved it last year, and Vegas is tough out there. Edmonton's going to be tough out there. Colorado's going to be tough out there. No, actually, Dallas. Yeah, Dallas is number 1, and they're going to be. It's the hockey playoffs, the depth, what it takes to win those series. Hockey's one of the best tournament playoffs.
It is.
It really is. So
I want to go back to the Bruins for a second. And a friend of yours announced his retirement the other night.
Yeah.
Jack Edwards.
Yeah.
He's going to be leaving the booth after this Toronto Maple Leaf series, and it kind of surprised a few of us. But he has some medical issues he's attending to, and he just felt it was time to come out of the booth and just enjoy life a little bit. And I'm sure he'll be around. He's going to be.
He's got a couple of kids. I think he's got one in college. He's got one about to go to college, and he's going to spend some. We almost connected last year when my buddy Garnet Hathaway was playing at Boston. And I sent him a text and said I'm going to be there, and he was on all the games were on national TV, so he had gone with his family to Florida. So I'm happy for Jack. It's bittersweet. I'm happy for Jackie, and I think it's great. He's going to be able to spend some time with his family. And the hockey it's a tough grind.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy for him, but you'll miss his enthusiasm. You'll miss his excitement for the game. You'll miss his candid, honest evaluation of the game, and we'll miss him.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
I'm happy for him.
Definitely. I mean, I go back when he was with Channel 5 as a sports reporter before he got the Bruins gig. And I mean, he was always
Channel 9. He goes back to Channel 9.
And Channel 9, you're right. So he's got ties here to the Granite State as well. So maybe sometime when he was retired and has some time to just kick back and relax, we can get him on. I'll have a
awesome.
chat with Jack. That would be awesome.
We're again, another great accomplishment for a local kid that has, nationally, internationally with the Olympics and
right.
ESPN, and so I'm proud of him. I'm going to miss him, but I'm happy for him at this point in his life. He's going to be able to enjoy it.
Proof that if you put your mind to something, and again, you have the skill set and hone it, and good things can happen. So congratulations on the retirement, Jack. Enjoy yourself, and we'll hopefully get together. I'd love to have him on the show. And another retirement, I have to bring this up, and this will be part of the 2-minute drill. Exeter High Athletic Director Bill Ball announced about a month or so ago that he was retiring as the athletic director at the conclusion of this school season. You taught and worked with the man for decades. I just want to get your thoughts about Bill Ball's retirement and Bill Ball himself.
Well, just, a legend, and just a great person. I used to say to the kids in the hockey locker room, and even the soccer locker room every once in a while, I would say, because he and I would talk every day, after games, or about practice, or about kids, or about school and politics, and all the different things. And I always felt that he gave me great counsel. It was a resource that I had in my personal and professional life. And I used to say, Coach doesn't always know a lot about the nuts and bolts of soccer, the nuts and bolts about hockey, but he does understand competition and what we're doing. And here's what we talked about. And because we talked about kids and we talked about parents, and we talked about right and wrong and thinking outside the box. And for me, as a coach, and I think one of the things that tells you his value is look at the coaching staff at Exeter High School. I have my 42 years. Kevin McQueen, his 30 something. Jeff Holmes joined us in 99, and he'll finish his career there. Bill Taylor, Sharon DeHart, Deb Grott, just all the men and women who go there to coach appreciate his knowledge, understanding. There are times that he gave me a piece of his mind and said, "What are you thinking?" And I had to own it, and I had to talk about it, and I had to say what I was thinking. And but at the same time, he had my back, and he had my best interest and the kids' best interest and the community's best interest in every decision he made. And it's going to be a different environment without his presence on the sideline, at the basketball court, at the rink, because each and every one of us that's been there knew how we should conduct ourselves in order to best represent what was important to the school environment and the community. And he was carrying that flag.
We mentioned that he is leaving as athletic director, but he will be the football coach for the foreseeable future. So Bill Ball will have a presence at the stadium and at events.
I think that's great for the football, the longevity of the football and the continuity of the football. And that's a big deal, for me to step out and know Danny Curran, who played for me and had a lot of the same values, took over the soccer, and Paul DiMarino had been an assistant of mine. That's important, that continuity for kids, and for us to be able to walk away, that's huge. And so I think that's great that he's going to do that. And it just a great person, a great friend, a great mentor, a great person for us as teachers and coaches, for the kids, for the community. And yeah. And if I can piggyback for a minute,
sure.
Because Bill succeeded Cass Donovan, who I think, some of the same qualities, and she took over in 77 to Bill's tenure in 2000. Tuesday, May 7th, they're going to dedicate the track, because
right.
Cass, as athletic director, was one of her roles was in the track program at Exeter High School. And on Tuesday, May 7th, they're going to recognize that and dedicate the track.
That's right.
Cass,
glad you brought that up.
I think it's wonderful, and one of those about time that the people, that the school board has Karen Pelletier kind of pushed it, and the school board is going to take that step. And I think that's, again, recognizing Bill, and recognizing one of the Bill's mantras always has been to sort of we're building on the shoulders of those before us. And
exactly.
That from, you stop and think about that, from 77 to 24, they've had 2 athletic directors.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good run.
It is. Consistency and continuity, Jim. That's
that Exeter High School from 68 to 24 has only had 3 male soccer coaches and only 3 male hockey coaches, and basically from 77 to 24, 2 athletic directors. And I think that's says a lot about the people in the roles, but it also says a lot about the community.
Amen.
People want to be here, and that it's such a great 6-town community that it's important to be a student, to be an athlete, to be a part of this athletic program.
And I started with Cass doing the public address announcing for the basketball first. And then Bill Ball took over shortly thereafter. And I'll tell you, what I loved about it is you knew where you stood with both individuals, and the people that were part of the team, the family, you know, everybody got along. There wasn't always a perfect environment necessarily, but everybody knew where they stood and they got along. And that's what really was important to me. And that's why I've been there for 30 years now.
One of the stories I often tell is that on really wet, muddy days when the practice football field was a quagmire, we had to share the turf. And the women's soccer, Megan or Dave, Megan primarily at that school, would get their time. And there would be countless times where Bill Ball in the football program and me in the boys soccer program, or Megan and the girls, would share the field for a 2-hour practice session. And I'm not sure there are a lot of schools that could do that. I'm not sure there's a lot of schools where the football coaches and the soccer coaches always saw eye to eye and said, you know, hey, let's go do this and let's get it done. But the coaches respect each other, the kids respected each other, and that came from the top down. Mm-hmm. And I can't tell you how many times we practiced on the same field. And I was at Manchester West. We were going for a preseason scrimmage, and the football team was working out, and we were set to get on at a certain time. And the football coach didn't get off. And the soccer coach came out and kind of said, hey, we've got a scrimmage set up. We'd like to get on. And he was rude. And my kids, my soccer kids on the sideline, were upset and ticked off. And the number one mantra that came from those kids was, that would never happen with Coach Ball.
There you go.
That would never happen at Exeter, because they would have respected that we had the time. And again, it comes from the top down.
I just want to mention to the folks that we will be covering that dedication of the track to Athletic Director Cass Donovan. That comes up on, as you said, Jim, May 7th. So we'll be doing that in our next televised version of the Seacoast Sports Forum, and maybe even have a special edition that day via Facebook. But what I want to circle back to May 5th for you. Now, that's the big event at Exeter High School for Special Olympics. Tell people where they can get in touch with you, and just give them a thumbnail.
So again, it's tufts.jim42@gmail. And you probably can find me at the library, find me in town. Usually you can find me. And if you can't, show up that day. Show up that morning at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whenever you can. And if you want to help out, Matt Carboni and I will find a role for you, because there's plenty to do. I sent a text recently to Steve Holmes, who is with the Exeter Fire Department, because the Exeter Fire Department is going to be out there helping serve meals, and it's a community event. And
it is.
It's a community event, and if they want to sign up ahead of time. And if they want to show up that day and join us.
I'll encourage them to do so. And once they come to this one, they'll be hooked for future events. They'll be hooked for future events, guarantee it. Well, Jim, I appreciate you coming on board. Have a good lacrosse season, and I know you'll be enjoying the Stanley Cup, and we'll maybe check back towards when we get into the finals with you and see how things are going with hopefully the Bruins in the finals against who knows.
Well, Hopefully we'll have a day like yesterday. Sox won, or over the weekend. Sox won, Bruins won, Celtics won. Good
Yeah.
day.
Another team that hopefully can just keep the momentum going. They've got the talent, obviously. They just have to play their game, and that's what's and stay. Both teams, all teams,
Yeah.
stay healthy. Stay
Yes, they
healthy. Thank you, Jim Tufts.
Oh, sure. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Sherm Chester inviting you to join us for the next edition of the Seacoast Sports Forum. Be sure to subscribe to Exeter TV on YouTube and hit the bell to get notified about new episodes of the Seacoast Sports Forum and other local content. Follow the Sports Forum team behind the scenes on our Facebook and Twitter pages, and send us your game footage and photos to our email. That's seacoastsportsforum.extv@gmail.com. This is Sherm Chester inviting you to join us for the next edition of the Seacoast Sports Forum.